happening?
World.
Where you headed to?
I'm going to get a slice.
You going down the south?
Word.
I gotta make some deliveries and I'll check you back there, right?
The rebound.
Bet. All right. Oh shit! Let me check it out. That's the hype.
Newest, latest. Let me tell you the story of right hand, left hand. It's a tale of good and evil. Hey, it was with this hand that Cain iced his brother. Love. These 5 fingers, they go straight to the soul of man. The right hand, the hand of love.
Yes, sir, and welcome back to Cover 2 with, pardon me, welcome back to Earl Knows It All. I got so many shows, I say a lot of different names. Welcome to the #1 show in sports and entertainment, Earl Knows It All. I'm your host, Earl Hill, and yes, that was Radio Raheem. Shout out to Radio Raheem. Shout out to Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. If you're not familiar with that, young people, you should go check that movie out. It is a great movie, and the reason I played that clip to start things off is because the Atlanta Falcons have finally made a hire. They have brought back Raheem Morris to be their head coach, and yeah, we got to get into this, man. This is it's a big deal. You know, a lot of people thought that Bill Belichick was going to be the next guy in line. If you've seen my last video that I've done here, it's been a while since I've been with you guys, but the last video I did was I was so just distraught over the possibility of Bill Belichick becoming the Atlanta Falcons head coach. I just couldn't muster the power to come speak to you, but now that Raheem Morris has been named the head coach, I'm here live and in effect, man. I got my Braves hat on. I'm representing for the A-Town. And does this mean that Earl Knows It All is back on the Falcon bandwagon? Not so fast, my friend. Not yet, but I do like this hire, man. I want to get into it, talk about it. Raheem Morris, man, first and foremost, first black head coach in Atlanta Falcons history. So shout out to Raheem Morris for that. Round of applause. I should have hit the applause button, but I'll give him an applause here. Standing ovation for him. The crazy thing about this is Raheem Morris was the interim head coach after Dan Quinn was fired back in 2020. Quinn started the season 0-5. I think Raheem Morris went on to go 4-7 the rest of the year, maybe. I think was his record. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing that we find ourselves kind of back here at square one once the Atlanta Falcons decide to move on from Arthur Smith. Now, word had it that Arthur Blank really, really wanted Bill Belichick, but the rest of the brass, the rest of the front office, I would assume this to mean Rich McKay, since you heard what I said about Rich McKay and how he somehow keep his job in Atlanta all this time, did not want that to happen. And the main reason is why a lot of reports were that Bill Belichick was going to come here, but he wanted to be the guy in charge. He was not going to play second fiddle to Rich McKay. And I think Rich McKay kind of saw the handwriting on the wall, and him being the right-hand man to Arthur Blank, him being the guy that has Arthur Blank's ear more than anybody, he convinced Mr. Blank, and maybe Terry Fontenot and some of those guys had something to do with this as well, to bring back Raheem Morris. Now, I think in that video I said my ideal head coach would be Raheem Morris, and maybe this was on cover 2. I said this with me Woo when we were talking about who like as the head coach. I said I would like Raheem Morris to come in here because I think he has had the opportunity now as a defensive coordinator and a guy that's been a previous head coach. He's won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator with the Rams. We'll kind of get into his resume a little bit later on, but I would like him as the head coach and then go draft a quarterback. Don't go get Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo or some also-ran quarterback, the thing you've been doing the last couple of years when you got Marcus Mariota, who didn't do much for you. You brought in Taylor Heineke as a free agent this past season, and you ran with Desmond Ridder. Now go draft a real quarterback that has some pedigree, the ability to actually build something here, and have Raheem Morris in there as a 47-year-old head coach, not too young, not too old, a guy that kind of fits good in the middle, guy that the Falcons are familiar with, guy that a lot of people around this organization had high praise for. I think Jalen Ramsey, who was his cornerback in L.A., spoke very highly of him, said he's one of the best coaches in the league. A lot of guys are hearing that come out and say that now. Now, he was a head coach previously with Tampa Bay, and that was over 13 years ago now. So he finished 17-31 back in his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, the Glazer family didn't really put him in the best position there. And as I talked about with D'Amico Ryans and some of the coaches that we've seen in Houston, and a lot of times when the head coaches look like me, they don't necessarily get the best opportunity. So I think this could be a good opportunity for Raheem Morris. I want to see what the Falcons do now in April in the draft and go get a quarterback before I say, hey, I'm back on board. This is a slam dunk. But I think the first piece in this, getting Raheem Morris, is a very, very good thing, man. I'm happy that, maybe somebody saw my video and said, hey, you know what? We need to listen to Earl. Arthur Blank, I'll tell you what, man. Rich McKay is getting a little long in the tooth, and he got your ear. I don't know why, but if you need some help, man, me and you or somebody over there seems to be on the same wavelength with me. I can give you a few pointers on some things you need to do over there, man. So, call me, man. Have your people talk to my people. But I think this is a good hire, though, for the Atlanta Falcons. I think Raheem Morris is a guy that, is in touch with what the young NFL player, kind of needs and how to reach those guys. I don't think that Bill Belichick would have been that guy. This is a guy who's 72 years old, who, although he has the 6 Super Bowls, let's just be honest, the elephant in the room is he hasn't done anything without Tom Brady his entire career. Had that one Matt Castle year where they went 11-5, and people thought, oh, this guy, he can win with anybody. But recently we've seen that not to be the case. So that's kind of the fallout from that, looking at it from the Bill Belichick end of things. We haven't heard any reports that any other teams are reaching out to him, or he's not interviewed with any other teams. He was on Mr. Blank's yacht a couple weeks ago, right after the season, chopping it up, doing an interview with him. So we'll see if he kind of, turns his attention. There are only 2 jobs left now, Seattle and the Washington Commanders. So Seattle has been in the mix with, I think, who are they looking at? Dan Quinn at one point. Lord have mercy if anybody hires Dan Quinn. They are not the smartest chefs. They're not the smartest geniuses in the football room, I guess, or not the sharpest tools in the shed if they do that. But you look at a situation where the Washington Commanders, I think, are waiting on the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, who will be in the NFC Championship game this week, Ben Johnson. So we'll see how that goes, man. He was a candidate for the Falcons as well, but I feel like this was the perfect fit of what you kind of heard the fans saying they wanted to see, man. A lot of fans wanted the hot coordinator. This guy's won a Super Bowl as a coordinator 2 years ago with the Rams. So you got that going for you. He's a guy that understands what the culture is like here in Atlanta. He's been in the building before. He was here for 4 years. He was a part of the coaching staff that went to the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons. So he has had some success here in Atlanta. The great thing of what I like about him is he was a wide receivers coach at one point for the Falcons. He's been on the offensive side of the ball in Kyle Shanahan, the boy genius's offense. As many people, know I'm not a huge fan of Kyle Shanahan, but the rest of the NFL world seems to be. So if you like that kind of thing, he was on Shanahan's coaching staff or with him in Washington, a part of the offensive coaching staff. He was with him here in Atlanta as a wide receivers coach, moved over to the defensive side of the ball as a defensive coordinator in Atlanta, wound up being the interim head coach in Atlanta. So the guy has experience on both sides of the ball. So a lot of talk about who he'll put on his staff. I think he'll probably handle the defensive part of things, and I'm sure he'll bring in a proper defensive coordinator, but he may be the guy that is in charge of the defense. And then I keep hearing the name, I think Zach Johnson, who's the offensive coordinator now with the Los Angeles Rams, is a possible guy that he'll bring in. Now, of course, Sean McVay calls all the plays and everything out there in LA. So McVay is on that Shanahan coaching tree as well. So we'll see if he can pull from the Shanahan coaching tree that people love so much. A guy like Slowick, who was down in Houston, who was the Falcons were interviewing him as well, the offense coordinator for Houston Texans. People wanted him because of the Shanahan shine he had on him. So you got a guy with Shanahan shine too if you want to check that box. So Raheem Morris just checks a lot of different boxes, man. And I think this is a good hire for them, man. I think it's a great hire for them. Now, the thing I will say, and I got a comment here from Bash Rip Rock. I agree it is better than Bill Belichick, man. Thing I'll say about this is still want to see who's really in charge of things in Atlanta, because that was the reason I put that video out about the Atlanta Falcons are a joke or failure or whatever I said, or it's a clown show. It's a circus essentially, because you watch that the press conference they had when they were trying to figure out what the coaching search was going to look like, who was in charge. Essentially, the two guys that you heard were Arthur Blank and Rich McKay. Now, they tried to say Terry Fontenot would be involved in that, but we haven't heard from Terry Fontenot at all. I think this means Fontenot will still be a part of things and he'll be the GM. And what they said during that press conference is they want, ideally, him to work with whoever the head coach. Let it be a 50-50 kind of split. No one is in charge of the other guy, yada, 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 all of that stuff. So I think Fontenot has done a pretty good job of putting talent together. When you look at Drake London's, who seems to have, some skill set, I don't know why you draft, and that's the question. That's why we kind of wanted to have Terry Fontenot there. So the questions could be asked like, who was responsible for drafting another running back like Bijan Robinson when you just had a rookie running back rush for over 1,000 yards, and you probably needed, a player at another position, maybe a defensive tackle like Jalen Carter, or go get a cornerback or get something at another place of need, not the luxury. Or who was responsible for taking Kyle Pitts with the number 4 pick? Now, the crazy thing is a lot of Atlanta fans are interested in, Raheem Morris. A lot of people kind of talked about that. And Justin Fields has been the big name we've heard all season long. Falcons got to go get Justin Fields. Falcons got to go to Justin Fields. I guess what the Falcons have decided to do is do a reset from everything from back in 2020 after they fired Dan Quinn and brought in this new regime. They had the opportunity to go draft Justin Fields with the number 4 pick. I didn't have a show at the time, but I was very vocal and speaking online and on social media as far as saying they should have took Justin Fields. I think at this point, man, if you go get Justin Fields, some of the luster maybe has went off him, but he's had an opportunity to kind of play in the league. So a little bit more about him than the unknown from maybe a Jaden Daniels or Derek May, if that's the guy you go get, or God forbid, I know people are probably not on Michael Penix Jr. now based on the injury history, the age, and the way he played in the national championship game. But I think you have to go get one of these young quarterbacks. Now, if at all possible, I don't know what it's going to cost, but last year it cost, I think, a first-round pick in this year's draft, which is how the Bears ended up with that first pick, trading with the Carolina Panthers. Would they be willing to make a trade again? Because the ideal guy that I would say is go get Caleb Williams, man. Go get possibly Patrick Mahomes 2.0, maybe. He seems to have that kind of ability, but everything is a crapshoot in the draft. But that would be the ideal guy. The second guy that's on my wish list if I'm going to get a quarterback is probably Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner. He's a dual threat. He can run it. He can throw it. He had an opportunity to play in a pro-style offense with Brian Kelly down in Louisiana State last year. I just called LSU Louisiana State for the first time ever in my life. I don't know why I did that, but LSU. And yeah, I think he would be a good fit if that's what you want to do. But I don't necessarily want Derek May. I think he's probably right now rated as the second or third quarterback. Caleb Williams is a sure shot number 1. And if you can't get one of those guys, and I don't want to say settle, because actually I think Justin Fields may be younger than Michael Penix Jr. So I wouldn't get Michael Penix Jr., or he may be the same age as him. I would go Justin Fields in the trade. And you probably have up a little bit less to get Justin Fields than you would a guy like, Caleb Williams. But Justin Fields could work her. My only apprehension with that is you got an Atlanta guy coming into Atlanta. Atlanta's a city that, it's the glitz and glamour city. And sometimes coming back home is not all it's chopped up to be, man. You can ask a guy like a Bobby. You probably don't know him. You see me, I got the gray beard, but Bobby Bonilla gets paid $1 million every year by the New York Mets because they signed him to one of the richest contracts in history. He went back home and did not perform, and people in New York hate that deal. They hate it because he's still paying them first and foremost, and they hate it because he was a guy who played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, was great with them, all-star, went to New York, went back home, and things didn't work out. The only guy that you've really ever seen that kind of really work with is LeBron James, I guess. He's LeBron James, so you can't put that kind of pressure on everybody. But going back home to try to be the savior of a franchise, it's a tough call, man. I don't want to necessarily put that kind of pressure on Justin Fields or that kind of pressure on a guy like Raheem Morris who's starting out now. That's my son. Come on over here, man. He's a LeBron James fan. He heard me say his name and he wanted to say LeBron James is so good. That's what he said. Now, he's no Michael Jordan, but I guess we'll do what we will with that. Yeah, all right. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I would do as far as the quarterback situation. I see I got somebody here in the chat saying, let Terry draft. I do think, like I said, we don't know what the particulars are. As a Falcon fan, it's tough to say if Arthur Smith was making those final calls on some of the picks they made or if it was Terry Fontenot. But yes, let Terry Fontenot do his job. Let him be the GM. Let him use the scout team to go out and get the right players. You're still going to have to do some things on defense. You'll get Grady Jarrett back next year. So the Falcons have some talent on this team, man. They are essentially a quarterback away. Now, I've heard people say, what about Russell Wilson possibly coming here? Russell Wilson would kind of be a last resort for me, and I think that would much be in the vein of a Kirk Cousins and a Jimmy Garoppolo or one of those retread quarterbacks. I think the best days of Russ are behind him. Now, if you wanted to bring Russ in for a year or two, let the young guy that you maybe draft play under him. If you got a Jaden Daniels or if it's Justin Fields has to hit the ground running to go play. I'm not necessarily bringing in the quarterback to groom Justin Fields. He's been starting for the last 2 or 3 years in Chicago. He's went through a lot of coordinators and stuff, but I give him the chance to kind of go ahead and do his thing. But yeah, I would only consider Russell Wilson if, that's a big if he understands that, hey, you're just keeping the seat warm here for our guy. We need a year or two. Maybe we can win some games. You got some talent here, like you said, that maybe could possibly, do what you need him to do. Now, the funny thing about that is that's the same way Russell Wilson kind of won his job and ended up winning a Super Bowl in Seattle. Green Bay had a quarterback. I can't even remember his name now. He was the backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers. He got signed. And, eventually he was supposed to be the starter in Seattle. They had a team that was good enough to kind of get rolling. But they had Russell Wilson kind of show that he was ready already as a rookie, as a third-round pick, and he wound up winning that job over the guy they signed for money. He was the backup quarterback. Russell Wilson came in and did his thing, took the teams to the playoffs. They eventually actually lost to the Atlanta Falcons that year. But what you saw was that progression. So if the Falcons could do something like that with Russell Wilson, I'm all for it. And if he understands that, hey, whenever this guy's ready to take over, we hand him the keys and let him go, that would be cool. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of hop on, man. I haven't spoke to you guys in a while, so it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful day. It's not a beautiful day in Atlanta. It's a wet, stormy day. It's pouring down, raining right now as I do this video. Happy day, man. Like I said, to be determined if I'll come back as a Falcon fan. And I joked in my group chat that if the Ravens win, all bets are off, because everybody that knows me knows I've been a Baltimore Raven fan for the last season. Let's say that. Nah, jokingly, but I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson this year, man. That would have been a great. Speaking of Lamar Jackson, which I think I keep hearing people kind of replay this, like nobody wanted Lamar Jackson and nobody went after him. Baltimore had the right to match whatever offer he got, so they probably would have done that. But I think you still got to shoot your shot, and especially if you're the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank came out and said he's worried about his injury history and worried about if he would be a fit based on his style of play, how long he would last. They just went after Deshaun Watson a couple minutes before that, man. A guy who, thank God they dodged that bullet. They don't have to pay him the guaranteed money he's getting in Cleveland right now. But, it's just that statement didn't age well, man, the way Lamar is going to be the MVP this year again and the way he's doing things. But I say all that to say, hey, man, I think that would have been null and void anyway. You probably wouldn't have had a real opportunity to go get Lamar Jackson, just because, simply put, the Ravens probably were going to match whatever any team did with him. So I think that was just kind of like a negotiation ploy with Lamar, to put that tag on him. But yeah, I think the Falcons, this is a good you're a Falcon fan, man. You guys comment. Tell me what you think. If you're a Falcon fan, are you upset that they didn't get Belichick? Were you looking for a Vrabel, or were you looking for a Harbaugh? I think Harbaugh was a pipe dream. I really would have liked Harbaugh, but I knew that was a pipe dream. So realistically, that's why I said Raheem Morris. Did you want Ben Johnson, one of these coordinators that's still playing now? I heard people, Georgia fans said Munchkin. We want Munchkin because he had some success with Georgia, but I don't think I haven't heard his name anywhere else but here because it's a local thing with him being a former Bulldog coordinator. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, man. How do you feel about this hiring? Is this a good day for Atlanta Falcon fans? Is this a day that you're disappointed that you didn't get Belichick or some other coach that you would have wanted? Put it in the comments. Tell me what you think, man. Make sure you do yourself a favor because I'm going to get more consistent, man. I've been working on some other stuff. Been busy at the top of the year, man, trying to get some things in place to get some goals together that I set for this year, get that stuff rolling. But we'll be more consistent here with the number one show in sports and entertainment. I'm sorry to leave you in the hands of the likes of Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and all these other guys. I'm back, baby. I'm back and better than ever. I'm going to keep giving y'all the best content. But do yourself a favor. Like this video, man. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed to it and turn your notifications on so you never miss a thing. You can see when I pop up live when something like this happens, or you can see when I'm dropping some new heat for you, man. And we may have, some of my friends coming back, like my guy, my uncle, Curly Moe. He may have some things to say about this as well. But yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, comment below. Tell me what you think, man. Stay tuned as well for my other show, Cover 2 with B-Woo. Earl Knows It All. We're going to talk about some stuff with the AFC and NFC championship game this week, man. A little preview of that. Let you know how we think things will go. I'm rooting for Baltimore and the Detroit Lions Super Bowl. You get some stank paint Gators from Detroit, man, for all the Detroit players. Y'all know how Baltimore give it up too, man. Shout out to everybody up there and be more. Yeah, man. But that's what I'm rooting for. But yeah, stay tuned to all the shows. Watch everything that we got to offer you at Hilltop Media. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I want to leave you with this precious gem. Put your trust in God because through him, all things are possible. We are out. Stay connected to the source, man. He loves you. That's all he's trying to do is show you some, show him some love back. We'll holla.